Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study. Our study this week is on the events of Holy Week. Today is the Wednesday, Holy Wednesday, and we are looking at what occurred on this day in that original Holy Week. Now actually, Wednesday of Holy Week is the quiet day. It seems that Jesus did not even go into Jerusalem on Wednesday. Now you recall, of course, that each night Jesus would return to spend the night in the village of Bethany. Bethany is about 2 miles outside of Jerusalem. He did this Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night. And it seemed on Wednesday that nothing really much occurred. It was a day of rest and of quiet. Jesus did not, it seems, go into the city at all. You know, the last 3 days have been pretty busy for him, pretty active, and he is preparing for what is about to come. And so he spends, it seems, Bethany in quiet and in contemplation, in getting ready. So it's a quiet day. However, things are happening. The betrayal of Jesus is underway. Judas has made plans with the chief priest to betray the Lord. Now in Luke chapter 22, we read these words. Now the festival of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching. And the chief priests, the teachers of the law, they were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, but they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. And Judas went to the chief priest and the officers of the temple guard, and he discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted, and they agreed to give him money. He consented, and he watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. So during this quiet time, Judas goes to the leadership, the chief priest, and agrees to betray Jesus to them. Now we're not sure exactly when this occurred. It may have been on Tuesday night, but it may have been also on Wednesday, the quiet day, that Judas slipped away to do this betrayal. But it was definitely in this time period. Now, of course, the chief priests were delighted that he came. They had been looking for some way to take Jesus, but though he was in Jerusalem each day, or he had been on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, there were always crowds around. And the crowd's delighted to hear Jesus, and so they couldn't take him when there was a crowd because they were afraid there'll be a riot. And so they needed to find him at night when he was alone, there was no crowd, and could take him quickly and secretly. But of course he was leaving the city each night. They weren't precisely sure where he was. And then Judas came. And they were delighted at his offer because he could lead them to a place in a moment when Jesus would be alone, when there'd be no crowd around, where they could quickly take him. That's exactly what he would do Thursday night. Now, why did Judas betray Jesus? We know that he was paid. Matthew tells us he was paid 30 pieces of silver, but was that his motivation? We're not really sure. There have been speculation made over the years as to why Judas betrayed Jesus. Basically, there are 3 theories. The one theory is that he was simply greedy. He wanted the money. He was paid, and so perhaps that's true. Maybe he was just a greedy man and saw an opportunity to make some money off betraying Jesus. There's a second possibility that has been suggested, and some have thought perhaps Judas was disappointed in Jesus. He had been a disciple now for a while, and he had thought Jesus would do something more than he was doing. That is, he thought Jesus was going to establish the kingdom, an earthly kingdom like David of years ago. Throw off the Romans and make an independent state. And maybe Judas realized that was not going to happen. That was not Jesus' mission. And in his disappointment, he sold Jesus out. He betrayed him. That's a possibility. There's a third possibility that has been suggested, and that is that Judas was trying to manipulate Jesus. He wanted Jesus to establish an earthly kingdom, a military rule. He saw Jesus was not going to do that, so it seemed. And so perhaps Judas thought, if I arrange to get Jesus in a tight spot, he will use his miraculous power to overthrow his guards and his arresters, and then he will establish the kingdom. So perhaps his betrayal was an attempt to manipulate the Lord. Those are the 3 possibilities that have been suggested. We don't really know for sure. What we do know is that Jesus was betrayed by Judas. Judas turned his back on faith. He turned his back on trusting Jesus, and he betrayed him and set the scene for what was to come. I suppose we'll never know this side of heaven exactly what motivated Judas to do what he did, but he stands as a stark example of what can happen when you turn your back on faith. There was a time when Judas truly followed Jesus. He was a disciple. But at some point he turned his back on faith and he became a betrayer. He became treacherous, and his name is stained for all of history for his act of betrayal. You and I who are disciples of Jesus must be warned by Judas. We must always hold true to Jesus. We must never turn our back on faith. But as we have begun to follow him, we must continue to follow him in utter faith and in confidence that his way is always the best. Let us hold true to our faith. Let us hold true to Jesus. Judas did not, but we want to hold true, and we will by faith in Jesus. Amen and amen. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I'll see you next time as we talk about the events of Holy Thursday. But that'll be for our next session. See you then. Have a great day.